There is a story attributed to Ernest Hemingway, said to be one of the shortest ever written, likely as a result of a bet. It goes like this: for sale, baby shoes, never worn. As I lay on the couch, shivering from the bath that had gone cold long before I'd left the tub, I too found a story that made me stop scrolling through the forums and hover over the topic's name. It said, "Suicidal, looking for a one-day friend to hold my hand." As a child, I didn't mind thinking about death because it remained in the abstract, a distant, if unnerving concept. I wished I could go back to that, but, well, I'd been planning to end things for a long time. I knew the date, the way to go. And then this strange thing happened. As if my subconscious tried to undermine my decision, change it by taking control over my mind. I could not explain it any other way. And that was why, once again, I ended up on the quiet forums dedicated to those who wanted to talk things over, or just say them in the safety of the internet anonymity. I hoped to find someone speaking of a similar experience, perhaps able to tell me what happened, or at least that I wasn't the only one it happened to. But instead, I found this thread opened by a person seeking human contact in a place where everyone else was hiding away. The silence around me was overwhelming. Mr. Walker's TV had long since shut it down, but music didn't feel right, and videos felt even worse. Nothing felt appropriate, to be honest, because I was not supposed to be here anymore. I felt like a ghost, but I couldn't try again tonight. I didn't have the strength to. Tomorrow, when the sun is up, I kinda wanted to see it one more time. I closed Firefox and stared at the cat-infested wallpaper. I didn't want to think about anything, but sleep wouldn't come tonight. And that meant thoughts. What comes afterwards? What if the pain doesn't end? What if I'll end up as a piece of consciousness in some bizarre state of whatever floating through the emptiness of space for millennia to come? The pit in my stomach was growing already. I got up and tossed the dresser. There they were, my old Arrested Development DVDs. A jingle rang in my mind. Mr. F. Who was that fellow again? I had a memory of a void elephant. Or an old lady, if you want to be boring. Very well then, let's find out again. Thank you, TV, for taking my mind away from me through all these years. That thing had always been unbearable. The morning came and went, and my eyes were still wide open. The show's season ended a little while ago, or maybe I hadn't put on the next episode. Couldn't really tell. My mind had drifted away, a bit after the late sunrise, and it kept asking its questions. Like, what if ghosts were real? What if my mind had tried to warn me of some kind of unfinished business, trying to spare me from dwelling in some limbo or another? But what business did I have with anyone? I opened Gmail and typed in my password. Munchkin Kitten 24 always made me smile a little. I scrolled through the archive of sent mail. 46 messages without reply. One every month. Perhaps I should say goodbye, Mr. Rowan style. Hi, Mom. How is Peru treating you nowadays? I'm fine, Dad is also fine. I forgot to tell you he'd toured colleges with me last year, you know. Check out the photos really I sent you in September message. Are you still volunteering, or have you found something else? I think I'm making good progress in painting. Hope you're doing just as well. Love, Nira. Send, 47. I don't care. My awaited sun came from behind the clouds and blared into my window. I winced, blinded by the bright winter glow reflecting in the hoarfrost covering the glass. It was a sign, wasn't it? I wanted the sun, I got the sun. The pills were waiting, but first I had to go and buy the butterflies. I ran a quick Google search, stuffed a big box of tissues into my handbag, and put on an old hoodie to hide my red face from the passers-by. On most days, the tears weren't even about Charlie anymore. They came because of the small, irrelevant things that just piled up, each of them now able to slap me down like a full-blown tragedy. But the 4th of December was all her. All us. All me. It was a long ride to the quieter part of town, but sleep deprivation, coupled with the monotone movement of the bus, tuned out most of everything, and time passed fast. As I walked into the store, the bell over the door jingled in a low tone. The clerk sitting behind the counter plucked something out of her thick reindeer sweater and looked up at me, quickly putting on a concerned face. "Hey girl, are you okay?" she asked me. There was a strong smell of animal food lingering around, and a quiet squeaking of mice could be heard. I used to love Bedsters when I was little. I'd pick my favorite cutie, name it, then start scheming to make my parents buy it. My only victory had been a fish. "I'm fine," I said to give the clerk an out of a potentially uncomfortable conversation. "Do you have butterflies in stock, perhaps? I saw online that you offer them for weddings." "Yes, we do," the woman smiled politely. "How many would you like?" 20-something? 20-something it is," she said in a bubbly manner, likely trying to make up for my sullen snout. "I'll be just a second." She disappeared deeper into the building, then came back carrying a cardboard box which she set on the counter. "In here?" I pointed at it. She nodded in response, so I asked, "Shouldn't they be in a tank or something?" "It's cruel to keep butterflies in a tank. They cannot walk on the walls and they will try to fly into them, damaging their wings." I blew my nose. "Sorry. How is a cardboard box better?" "They're not awake right now. The ice packs inside keep them hibernated. Remove them and the butterflies will start moving." I really know nothing about anything. I muttered to myself, paid and picked the box up carefully. "Thank you for shopping with us," the woman said. "I hope the wedding is beautiful." As I left the store, something didn't sit quite right with me, but I couldn't put my finger on it. The important part was I needed the butterflies alive. I hurried to the bus stop and hoped it would arrive before something started to go wrong inside the box. I'd forgotten to ask how long the ice would hold, but supposedly they were shipping those over distance, so half an hour bus ride shouldn't be too much. I closed my apartment door behind me and leant on it to take a breath. 3 flights of stairs was at least 2 too many. I set the box on the table and grabbed the bottle with my pills. Right, butterflies first, then some water, lie down and... What? What was going on with me? Had I marinated in the pain fumes for too long? This did not come from my subconscious, alright? I hadn't even known it was possible to buy frozen butterflies. What the hell? I looked around, feeling very much paranoid at the memory of yesterday's trip to the roof. Wait, the butterflies. They were stuffed in that box. I grabbed the knife and cut open the tape holding cardboard flaps together. Inside was a bunch of styrofoam protectors and an ice pack, as per clerk's words. I took it all out and revealed envelopes with what seemed to be asleep monarch butterflies. "Hey guys, come on." I picked up one of the envelopes with trembling hands. The butterfly inside started to move, and my heart clenched at the sight. Little guy looked beyond miserable, squished inside the see-through paper. Whose idea was this? Fast, open it. The others started to wake up as well, and I hurried to let them all out. They were just bugs, and they probably didn't feel much, but this was just wrong. What a bizarre moment. I stood there for a long while watching 20 butterflies fly around my room, freed from the tyranny of the evil wedding planners. It was as if I had a bunch of those 3D stickers and a fairy came and brought them to life. And I was crying again. Of course I was. I wiped my nose with the inside of an empty tissue box, afraid to go for the toilet paper, as if the moment I did so, the butterflies would disappear and the magic would disperse. "You guys here to remind me that life can be beautiful?" I asked them, not sure if I was joking, being serious, or what. Not quite. Upon hearing the sudden response, I nearly got my death wish, by the means of a heart attack. The air beside my table blackened, and suddenly, the stranger from the roof was standing right there, in the middle of my apartment, dressed in loose black pants and a wrinkled linen shirt as if he'd been just chilling here. I rarely swore, and the curses must have been bottling up, waiting for the opportunity to spill out. And yep, their time was now. The man tilted his head, listening to my litany, which could be nicely summed up by a simple, "What?" Then he said, "Done yet?" His face was blank, but the tone of his voice hinted at some underlying amusement. "Who are you?" I pressed my body against the door, trying to fumble for a lock, unsure if I wanted to twist it open or try to lock it harder. Not that either made any sense, since the burglar was already inside. "What happened this time?" he asked. "How did you get in here? Did you break in when I was out?" He must have been waiting in the bathroom. There was no other place to hide in here. "What stopped you this time?" He would not let go of his questions. My teeth were clattering, and my hands shook so much my knuckles thumped spastically against the door. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" I kept asking too, as if to buy time for it gets know what. The man sighed and shook his head. "My name is Severin," he said with exasperation, "and I want answers to my questions. Same old, same old. Now, can we get to the point?" Get to the point? This was ridiculous. "Fine. Here's a point for you. This apartment was locked. How did you get in here? I don't know you. How do you know what I was doing? And what is it to you anyway?" "Look, Nira, for God's sake, now you know my name too. Did he go through my documents? How? Why? Why was this happening to me now?" "I know a lot about you. What I don't know is what stopped you this time," he said, as if we were having a talk over a morning croissant at a cafe. He sat down on the edge of my table, taking on a nonchalant pose. There are no heights to speak of. I just gaped at him for a moment. I was tired, but I wasn't sleep-deprived nearly enough to be blacking out. He had not come from the bathroom. When I came inside the apartment, I looked around. I was confused about the butterflies, and I was paranoid, so I looked inside the bathroom. "You didn't break in, did you?" I asked through a clenched throat. The words were barely audible, and I didn't quite know what they actually meant just yet. "Perhaps not," he said. Call me crazy, but the thing that came back to my mind at this moment was what he'd said on the roof when I'd asked him if he was thinking about taking his life. That would be quite difficult. Forget my other questions. Maybe what I should ask him was what he was, not who. All the years of fantasizing about magic, supernatural things, other worlds. For a second, I could believe whatever I wanted, and my imagination seized the moment. But a moment, as moments tend to do, passed away momentarily. Before any awesome idea crystallized in my mind, reason took the reins. I had heard of hallucinations like this happening to people with brain tumors. It was a more logical explanation than magic, for sure. And it was strange not to be terrified at that prospect. But I wasn't. I had no reason to be. Instead, there was something suddenly exciting about it. It was so out there, yet so realistic. I got curious. I had almost forgotten how it felt, being interested in something in my own life. Severin cleared his throat. "What is it?" "I was just figuring out what you are, I said. Well then, by all means, do share your findings. I smiled. Look who's got any questions suddenly. Not that I can blame you. I'd want to know too. He narrowed his eyes, but said nothing. My shoulders slouched, and I felt the burn in the muscles there as the tension eased a little. He was a figment of my imagination. He couldn't hurt me. And I could say whatever I wanted to him. Maybe it was my brain's idea of a goodbye. Have one more spat. Spawn let's be honest here for a second, a handsome hang, have him scare me shitless, and then bully me a bit. Honestly, it had my brain written all over it. You're my hallucination, of course. A manifestation of my brain. Hi, at long last we meet, face to face. Ah, I see. It is all so you, I said. I don't know how it took me so long to recognize you. Interesting, my mind replied. Now that we have this established, do tell. Why didn't you take the pills? No, I will be asking the questions now. I threw him an askew glance. What is your endgame here? On one hand, you seem to want me to die and appear here all disappointed when I don't. On the other, you are the one stopping me at the same time. You gotta... I chuckled at the irony of the incoming thought. Make up your mind here. He raised an eyebrow. I said, what? Speechless now? You know very well what I mean. What we mean. First, the fall from the roof. I look like a wounded bird heading for the fall, and when I hit the ground, the paint intermingles with my blood in two different yet so kindred hues. We always liked cheesy art like that. But to be honest, I find it weird that you would want us to become it, you know? Still silent. That's how it usually went. Brain did brain things, and when I wanted to argue, it would go silent to catch me off guard next time with some thought I really did not want to have. And now the butterflies. Let me think. I rubbed my chin, pretending to consider it. I lay down on the floor, in my white winter dress, snowflakes and all. Splay my blonde hair over the planks, and the butterflies fly over me, land on me, all in the picture of sad innocence gone. And what stopped you from making that happen? Are you serious now? That's serious. Oh, so punny. He scowled. Not intended. Right. 'Cause we don't love bad puns. This was fun. In a morbid way, but fun nonetheless. But why did you plot a jump from the roof? I mean, of all people, you knew that wouldn't fly. That one got him. A pun so great it turned off my brain. Or he was considering something, because his face contorted in a familiar ponder scowl. We didn't like to think too much. It was rather unpleasant. Finally, he said, that would be because I am not your brain. I am a spirit. Oh, right. That's it. I was actually just thinking about magic and fairies. Why not go that way? There is more to this world than you think, Nira. Is that so hard to imagine? It's not hard to imagine, no. But believe. Yeah, that's a toughie. He scoffed. It doesn't really make a difference to me whether you believe it or not. But I do insist you explain to me, how is it that you can go from a determined death wish to a lack thereof, from one moment to the next? I did no such thing, that's one, I said. It's still here. But I suppose you're asking why I could... I extended my arm looking for a word as if something could literally hand it to me. Get out of the trance? Yes. I can understand the strong fear that knocked you out of it on the roof, but today there was nothing. So what you're saying is that I was in trances. Let's say so, yes, he sighed. Would you also say that you caused them, then? Mr. Death Spirit, Suicide Artist? He was at his most amicable when I humored him, so let's... Yes, he answered. He knew well I was no different. Peachy, scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. Why? I was bored. You're a painter. I figured I'd help you go in a more fitting way. I took a deep breath. I was doing my best, trying to process all of this, find a good explanation. Hell, maybe even enjoy the experience because might as well. But there was a hole in my logic. I hadn't known you could buy frozen butterflies. I had never heard of it, read of it anywhere. I'd have remembered. It was a fascinating fact for me. How would my hallucination know this? How would my brain put me in a trance related to it? What do you mean by spirit? I asked the man. What do you mean I was the one stopping you? I shook my head. You tried to make my death into a spectacle, as if it was something fun, when I just wanted the pain to stop. I wish no one would ever know, no one would ever see it, much less think I wanted it. You don't. If you really are some kind of spirit, I couldn't believe I was asking this, but I had to. What did I have to lose? Tell me, is my pain normal? Because it doesn't feel like it. Time should heal all wounds, shouldn't it? So why doesn't it help me? Why is it just getting worse? He didn't respond. Why? I can't tell you that. You can't tell me what exactly? It doesn't matter, Nira, not to you. How can you say that? You will die soon, why wouldn't I? So that's why you told me you're a spirit, huh? Because I will die soon and it doesn't matter. He didn't respond, but all traces of amusement disappeared from his features. Because surely if spirits do exist, they don't go around telling mortals about it, do they? So what if I don't kill myself now, Mr. Death? What will you do? I'll just go and tell everyone. No one would believe you. Are you sure? Because if you are a spirit, then this pain can be something else. Something we could fix. And desperate people believe whatever the fuck they want. You can't fix it. How do you know? Do you know what this pain is? Do you know why it's like this? I do. These two words rendered me speechless this time. I looked into his brown eyes and saw something that told me with even more certainty that he wasn't a part of me. Because there was no part of me that could look at me this way. Severin, please just tell me. I don't want to die if I can hope to fix myself. I swear on everything I won't tell anybody about you if you help me. Can you help me? Not anymore, he said, and disappeared, leaving me once more in this limbo between wanting to stay and craving to leave. What does that mean? I screamed, but he wasn't here anymore. He disappeared, in front of my very eyes. He was telling the truth, wasn't he? How could I know? But what if I never... I fell to the ground where I stood and gasped for air. It was so very hard to breathe all of a sudden. I reached up and knocked the pill bottle off the counter. It hit the ground with a rattle and rolled off under the table. Fine. Screw it. I couldn't take the pills anymore anyway. Severin refused to give me hope. But I found it anyway. I grabbed the point of the sword aimed at me and squeezed it with all my power. Anything but to drown. Anything but to go. There was something more about my pain, and the pain of those people. And I would find out what. Because just as Severin had said, there was more to this life and, well, I was correct too. A desperate girl will believe whatever the hell she wants. Spirits? Sure. I'm in.